Well, hello. I am Alana, and welcome to my channel. This is a Halo review, the multiplayer and the campaign. There's very little chance if you're interested in Halo, you really need another review. But some people have asked me what I thought of it, and so that's kind of what this is. This doesn't really serve any purpose other than that, because I think if you're into this game, especially that it's on Game Pass, you're going to try it, see if it's for you. Here's what I'll tell you. I mean, I've been playing this nonstop. I love this game. All right, let's cut to the chase. I love the game. It is one of my favorite games of the year. Is it perfect? No, it is absolutely not perfect, but man, is it good. Now, I got to tell you, I'm not a Halo guy from back in the day, so I have seen some criticisms, and maybe they're valid if you are a Halo fan and you've read the books and you've watched the webisodes or whatever those are, and you've played the top-down strategy game and you're just all into it, or even a degree of that. I'm sure your criticisms are, I mean, every criticism is valid, but I'm sure those are specific to maybe longtime fans. So you have to know that everything I'm about to say is through the lens of a guy who played a little Halo 1, it was okay, I was kind of bored of it, and played more Halo 2, which I did enjoy more, but I never finished it, and I played a little multiplayer on the 360, I forget which copy it was. And that's it. So I've never been a Master Chief supporter or anything like that. I've just been I've been aware of it. I've respected it as a successful franchise, well made. It's never been for me. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. So some of the stuff I might rave about in a second, maybe like, dude, they've been doing that since the first game. Fair, but I don't know. Okay, I wouldn't have that data. Let me tell you what I love about this game first. The core loop, as the kids say, or the designers say, the core loop of this game, which is obviously the shooting and the navigation, feels wonderful. It feels substantial. It feels like it's not twitchy. It feels smooth when you move the reticle around. I was playing mostly with a controller. And the time to kill for me is sweet spot, man. It is fucking sweet spot. I don't like most online shooters, because most online shooters, it's really interesting actually. If you look at, it's so weird to even put Halo in the same category or genre of shooter if you're putting in that other category Battlefield, Call of Duty, on and on and on. Let's just take Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a shooter and Halo is a shooter, but only sort of in presentation. What you're doing and what you're thinking about moment to moment, at least for me, is so different between the two games that I don't really like Call of Duty games. I don't really like Battlefield games. They've never appealed to me. Those have been about, at least for my brain. Now, your brain may differ and different. For my brain, those games have always been about, it's cliche to talk about it this way, but it's how I experience it. Whoever sees the enemy first pretty much wins. So it's less about the moment-to-moment engagement, and it's really more about your brain tracking the environment and keeping an eye out for a glint of motion in the distance, and can you get your reticle up to it before the other guy? And then that's it. Encounter pretty much over. Move on to the next one. And millions upon millions of people love that. I can't stand it. I think it's A, because my brain is older than yours most likely, and B, it just isn't very fun to me. It's just like it's like whack-a-mole. It's like, who did you see it before it popped back down into the hole? Cool, shoot it. Yeah, and that's not fun for me. Halo's different because of its time to kill. Halo has not a lot, but it's got enough space between seeing another enemy that you can do something about it. You can counter, or you can use the environment to hide and wait for your shields to charge back up. Or you can risk rushing at the enemy if you feel that your health is just a tiny, teeny bit higher than his health. And in that, you have these moments after moment after moment. So the shooting feels great. The navigation feels great. And then on top of it, my experience at a brain level feels great because it feels smarter. It feels like when I die, maybe that's kind of what it is, right? When I die a lot in Call of Duty, I don't really feel there's a lot I can do to get better. My reflexes aren't going to improve all that much the more I practice. The map awareness will, blah, blah, blah. But Halo, I know when I've died, I could have done something. It's not just about, I got seen before the other guy saw me before I saw him. I could learn the map better so I can avoid someone who's taking me down because I have those precious 2 or 3 or 4 extra seconds that you don't have in Call of Duty to sort of get out of the way. Or I can change to a specific weapon that works really well at this distance or in this environment, you know. And I know you can do that in every shooter, but because the time to kill is longer, I guess they're able to tune the weapons to do, you know, less damage, and so you have more time because the time to kill is longer to actually make choices that matter. If that kind of doesn't make sense, but I hope you know what I'm saying. I'm doing this on the fly, but the gist is the game allows me to feel like it's a smarter game that I have more control over, and my choices are more meaningful. How about that? And in that, the game shines and is addictive. So time to kill. The shooting feels great. The navigation feels great. And on top of it, the specific weapons. I understand, you know, I was there when Modern Warfare 1 came out and they RPG'd the fuck out of the shooter, and I get people love it. I never thought it was good for gameplay. I always thought the Call of Duties before Modern Warfare multiplayer were more engaging because the weapons were locked pretty much. It was like, here's what this weapon does. We're off to the races. That's it. Maybe there's an alt-fire, but that's it. Now it's like 50 shotguns, 30 sniper rifles, 20 rocket launchers. There's a tiny little variant tweak, and that's kind of it. And on the battlefield, you don't really know what's what at a glance unless you get really good at the game. In Halo, it's more like an old school arena shooter. Every single weapon is very specific why it's there. It's not loaded with tons of weapons. I think there's like 15 or something, and that's it. And so you start to learn the weapons in the same way that you learn how different cars handle in a racing game. And in that, it's a smarter experience. You don't have the meta of unlocking everything under the sun, but the game's better. And that's what I care more about. So, okay, the highest level, what I love is the shooting feels great, the navigation feels great, the time to kill feels great, having specific weapons that are also very specific in terms of how they function is better. It just is, for me. I can't speak to you, but to me, this is actually what a shooter should be. It's addictive, it's fun because of all these things, and I adore it. Okay, the other big change to Halo is it being mostly open world. Not entirely, but mostly. I loved this. I in fact, did not like the game at first when I started playing it. When it starts in halls and rooms, which are not that interestingly designed, and it ends the same. If the game would have been the halls and rooms at the beginning and just more of that, there's no way I would have played this game for more than an hour. I was absolutely bored out of my mind the first hour of this game. And I got outside and suddenly it felt a lot better. And here's what I think it is. I think it's because two things. One is you have the grapple hook throughout the whole game. In multiplayer, you only have it when you can pick it up. But you start with the grapple hook, and it's not like Zelda or something or the Skyhook where you have to find the environment piece that you can attach to anything and everything. It's not even like, that was old Zelda, like Ocarina. It's not even like Breath of the Wild where you've got this meter of exhaustion. Other than hitting a ceiling and an interior, I found only one place, and it almost felt like a bug, where I couldn't go. This is one of those games where it's not like no mountain is too steep, no mountain is too far. There are some blocks, very few blocks in the map that you have to, fly over or figure out another way to get there. But 95% of it is, if you see it, you can get there if you want to put the work in. And it feels great to fly around the map. Okay, so part of it is the way you navigate the space, whether you're just walking or swinging. The other part of it is, and I'm sure they're out there, and maybe there's a great one I'm not thinking of, but open world games where you're shooting is the main loop, I think are pretty rare, right? I know there's like the Division, which I think is open world, and then there's the other Tom Clancy Ghost Recon open world. I haven't played either of those, so maybe there's a lot in common there. But what I will tell you is most open world games I play are driving centric or melee centric, like Ghost of Tsushima or something like that, or Breath of the Wild or what have you. When you are focused primarily on ranged combat and all that combat I just told you about, all that depth of moment-to-moment combat, it becomes, for me, more pleasurable to do it over and over and over and over and over. And the scenarios that they set up with certain types of enemies and vehicles and environment hazards and whatnot, those become the things they use to keep it fresh and to sweeten it up. But a lot of people have said, oh, the game gets repetitive. I didn't find that. I did find it when I was in the interiors, but 90% of the game is open world. I did not find it. In fact, I'm going to go back now and 100% it or come close to it because I enjoy the moment to moment so much in that open world space. So the open world mixed with the shooting loop is just a wonderful experience. And it's so interesting to me that was enough to make it the brilliant game that it is. Whereas if they would have kept it in those hallways, I was like, okay, it's fine. The shooting feels great, but I'm kind of bored. This is dull. Like whenever the game kind of devolved into, hey, look, Ma, I'm designing, like you could tell towards the end of the game, especially, it's like you started getting into these monster rooms where it's like, it felt like an old 16-bit side scroller where it's like, let's go through every enemy you fought in different configurations just to kind of wear you down before the boss. It felt almost like there were two designers. There was like a very old school designer working on it, and then there was this there's a more new school designer that understood more organic design, and it flowed much better. When it was the flow, it was sublime. When it was the old school, it felt old school. It felt clunky. It felt dated. I did not like it at all. And thank God, Spazbo from this channel was like, dude, just stick with it until you get outside. And he was absolutely right. Some other stuff I loved. Okay. And again, maybe this goes back to Halo 1. I never noticed it, but there are elements in this game, and I'm not going to use the word emergent because I don't think the game has some emergence, but the game world feels more alive than most games I've played. And I don't mean that like the background or, oh, the city in Spider-Man felt more alive because there were all these people walking around. I think what it is because they've tied this into the gameplay. And I'm talking about specifically like when you free a base, it comes with Marines. Or if you're fighting a bad guy's base, there are Marines that have been captured and you free them and they fight by your side. And then when you find like a really cool vehicle, they can get in the vehicle with you. So it behooves you to sort of wait to honk the horn to get all the guys around you and girls around you and go on a mission. And it's not just cosmetic. They are actually gameplay, but they are also conceptual pieces of the story. And they have really good voiceover, and even though they don't say a lot in terms of storytelling, it feels very real. And the enemies are the same, whether it's the grunts or the banished or whatever, they're always talking, always saying interesting, sometimes funny, sometimes just threatening things, but it feels lived in, and it feels like you're really in an experience versus just... because a lot of games say our world feels alive, but that's purely cosmetic. This gets into the root of the gameplay. And I loved that, and I appreciated that. Even to the point where there are these drop ships that come in and drop off enemies. And at first I just figured, okay, this is canned, right? It's like, here comes this drop ship. I guess it's time to deal with reinforcements. That's how this level section outside was scripted. And then I'm like, oh shit, I can blow those fucking things up the minute I hear them. Or even though they've already dropped off their people, I can blow them up as they're flying away, and they explode in the sky and crash into the ground, and that's all she wrote. And it actually, because it's tied to the gameplay and the story, it feels like you're really there. Also, just being able to like hijack planes out of the sky and suddenly you're in air-to-air dogfights. It's not as good as like Ace Combat. It's clearly they didn't spend a lot of time on the air-to-air combat, but the fact that you can be on the ground shooting, a fucking enemy plane flies over you, you can grapple to it, pull the pilot out, fly, and now you're in a dogfight with some other flying things, and you're attacking enemies on the ground that you were a minute ago just shooting with a fucking rifle. It feels immersive in the best way. So I absolutely love that. I don't know if that's new to Halo, but I know it stood out to me, and I certainly enjoyed the fuck out of it. What else? It wasn't over-directed, okay? A lot of games... I'm going to tell you real quick. I know it's a long video. I apologize, but Victor Fleming was a director of movies. He did things, very famous things. He did Gone with the Wind, and he did... oh, my God. I'm blanking. But fucking Wizard of Oz, huge director. And whenever Spielberg would talk back in the day, Steven Spielberg, he would say... I'm not interested in my movies feeling Spielbergian. I want to be like Victor Fleming. And what he meant was Victor Fleming was like a journeyman director. Anywhere they plugged him in, he can make a good movie. And when I play this game, Halo Infinite, and I saw the same thing in Ghost of Tsushima, and I saw the same thing in Days Gone. I didn't see it in God of War 2018. I didn't see it in Last of Us Part 2, two games that I adored, but they felt very auteur. It was very clear there was a definitive vision, and sometimes that vision was so overwhelming. It wasn't bad ever, but sometimes it was overbearing to the point that it pulled me out of the experience, right? Whereas Days Gone and Tsushima and Halo really didn't feel that way. It felt like it was a very gentle hand leading me through this great adventure. And I love that about it, except at the end and the beginning, which felt over-designed and clunky. The voice acting is phenomenal. It's really, really good. It's not trying to be, what I also love about it is it felt more like a summer movie. If you look at something like, God of War, or you look at something like Last of Us, they kind of feel like Oscar contender type films. They're about something and they're deep. And this had some angst and pathos and all that, which I loved. And I loved the relationship between the new Cortana, whatever, I'm not going to say, her name's so stupid, the weapon. But I loved that relationship. I loved that character. I thought she was phenomenal. I loved that there was some friction there and they resolved it at the end, or they tried to resolve it. It wasn't a vapid movie or a vapid story, but it was mostly about, we're going to send you on this really fun summer blockbuster. And yeah, there's going to be some heart to it, but we're not going to overdo it. I loved that about it as well. The music is phenomenal. The audio is, now this may have nothing to do with Microsoft or the Halo or the Forza team. It may have everything to do with how my shit's set up. But I want to tell you, so I have these shitty fucking headphones that I stole from my son. They're called, I don't even know what they're called, but they're shitty. It's like $20, right? I used to have really nice ones and my kids broke them. But anyway, so I'm using these, and when I've been thinking about buying one of those speaker neck pillow things, not like an actual neck pillow, but it's what it looks like, because it was going to give me 3D sound. And I've been playing everything from like Demon Souls to Tsushima going, man, I really could use 3D sound. And I would ask people, what if I buy the Sony headset? And they're like, really, it doesn't. It says it's 3D sound, but most people tell me when I ask them, they don't notice it. So I kind of figured unless I get speakers all around me, I'm never going to have that. Well, I noticed this when I started playing Forza, where I'm wearing my headphones and I started to intuitively know when a car was about to come up behind me and pass me. And then I realized it wasn't intuition. It was the fact that the engine, I can actually tell where it was coming from. And it was really, really close to me. That never happens when I'm playing on PS5 with these. And then in Halo, it was the same thing when I'm playing single player, multiplayer, where not just I could hear footsteps approaching. I know where they're coming. This is a $25 headset. I know where they're coming from. I know roughly how far away they are. That, even though I know PlayStation says they have that as well, and it's probably in my games, I just don't have the right switch flipped. I love that this was, or it could be the audio engine on Halo. I don't know what it is, but boy, I'll tell you what, I appreciate it. I liked it. Multiplayer, finally, is absolutely amazing. I know there's some issues that they're doing a great job every week almost, making good, meaningful changes to like the battle pass and cosmetics and all that. But the moment to moment of the multiplayer takes all of that shooting stuff I was telling you about at the beginning of this video, and it makes for a much deeper game. So, like I said, I would say you may be a guy who says, or a girl who says, I don't like shooters at all. If what you define as a shooter is Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty, what have you, you still should give this a chance, because I don't like this kind of shooters either. But this feels entirely different, and it's absolutely worth your time. Here's why it's not perfect. Here's some issues with this game. Like I said, the biggest problem is the design a couple of times go off the rails, and it feels like a different designer is in charge, or a different director or whatever. It feels annoying to have to deal with those sections. Like and they're only at the beginning and only at the end. And by the time you get to the end, you're not, you're so vested, it's fine. But it just feels like you can start seeing everybody behind the curtain making the game. And in that, it falls apart. And thank God it gets better at the very end. But I would say that's a big problem with this game. And hopefully they'll figure it out next game. The plot is cool and it's good, but as a non-Halo guy, I liked how they wrapped this up. I know that there are still issues to deal with, but it would be nice if now we could have, and this is spoilery, I guess, but it would be nice that we could have Master Chief and the pilot and the new Cortana go off on some brand new adventures. The narrative is so weighted down by the Flood and the Banished and the people who built the Halo rings and the Grunts and Master Chief. It's just, there's so much lore that it almost feels like, take a step back. You've got this great character now. You've got this cool relationship with the new Cortana. You've got this interesting sidekick who started off super annoying. He had a nice arc where he's not such a prick in the end, or an annoying person in the end. It would be nice if they could just go on some adventures that feel a little more standalone. Because as a guy who's come into this fresh, I was having people in my chat having to explain a bunch of stuff. It's just, it's really burdened down with decades of lore, and it's not great. The story's good, but it's too much, and I think it's good they finished the story. Now let's move on. There is a post-credit scene. It's really not great. It's nothing's wrong with it, but you wait for a long time to see it. Turns out you could have skipped the credits, but it was like a 12-minute credit sequence. And then you get to the end, and the post-credit sequence is like, I've seen a lot better. That's pretty much my complaints, right? This game is great. This game is easily a Game of the Year contender for me. I rated a 9 out of 10. It is in my top 5 easily. It may be close to the top, if not at the top. I need to do some serious thinking about it. It's a great package. I don't know how it's going to do. It's interesting that there are Halo fans, longtime Halo fans, that don't like it. So I don't know if my view about this game is majority, minority, somewhere in the middle. I don't know if today's audiences will take a shine to a shooter like this that really isn't like Call of Duty, that doesn't feel a thing like Call of Duty. This is more of a gamer shooter and not a bro shooter. And I don't mean that a bro can't enjoy it or a gamer can't enjoy Call of Duty. I'm just saying that if I had to make a compartmentalized group of rooms where people go to play which game, this feels more like the game that people who genuinely love games can play. And Call of Duty feels more like, everybody can play it, it's fun, it's more of a social thing. And I know some people take it real serious, but it's kind of a fun social thing to fuck around with your friends. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't matter. The point is, Halo Infinite is fantastic. Easily one of the best games of the year. This is a very long review, but I had a lot to say because there's a lot to love. There's a lot to love about this fucking game. I'm a big fan. I hope you give it a shot, and I hope you're well. See you soon.